Okay, here we go. Let me just say good evening once again to everyone who made the time to be here this evening. My name is David Homer, and I am a doctor of naturopathic medicine. I have been in the healthcare industry for about 30 years now. In clinical practice, for 25 years, I retired from clinical practice about 4 years ago. I am still very much involved in the healthcare arena, but from a broader perspective, in working with individuals and selected groups, mostly online. This evening, I am here to share with you some very important information that I believe will enrich your life. You are here because I invited you, or someone else may have invited you to hear the information, which I think can be very impactful for your life. You're free to take notes, you're free to screenshot, um, because it is worth remembering. We're going to cover quite a bit of information within the next hour or so. Um, we're going to be talking about unlocking human potential through mind body wellness. And in the end, it's all about how we can feel better, think better, so we can live better. And that's on every level. And that's the focus of where we're going. So when we're talking about unlocking human potential, we're talking about potential is that capacity that we have to maximize life in whatever area, but we have not yet tapped it. It is that latent capacity that we have that we may not have fully exercised as yet. And it's being able to unlock that so we can live our best life. And we're going to be talking about how we can do that through mind body wellness, unlocking human potential that includes being able to live a long, healthy, and a disease free life. Yes, I said disease free because disease as we get older is not inevitable. We'll probably get a clearer understanding of that. It includes the potential to live our very best life in every area and on every level of our existence. We can do that. And so there is a specific point that I want to bring home for our understanding as it relates to mind body wellness. And I'm going to do that by sharing the next slide to help me to create a context of understanding the value, the magnitude, and the relevance and importance of this mind body wellness. I know that mind body wellness is not a new term for most people, but the practical application and experience of it is new to most people. But I want to just bring home the point of the importance of that. And I'm going to use the next slide to create a context of understanding for that as it relates to unlocking human potential. So this is a whole program that I'll be teaching in the very near future as this year goes by in various workshops. And it comes from 12 chapters of a book, but I'm going to condense it just right here. We all know that we are three-dimensional beings: body, mind, spirit, body, soul, spirit. We also would be aware that the potential of a thing is always inherent to its design. Our human potential, our potential for greatness, our potential to be our best in whatever area resides in our spiritual nature, because that is the true essence of our being. That is the essential nature of who we are. But we are spirit, soul, and body living in this physical reality. Now, what health really is when we can have the dimensions of our being all functioning in harmony and balance as one unified whole. That's the true nature of what health is. And as it pertains to living our best life, life is designed in such a way. There is a divine flow of a creative order of life that ensures that the universe functions in order, nature functions in order. It keeps everything in an orderly flow of existence. And we won't get into that. But when we can live by the qualities of our true nature, by the qualities of our spiritual nature, where our potential resides, when that could become the compass that guides how we will engage with living with the creative order of life, we will be in a flow of living that ensures that we can have the best life possible. We can call it an abundant life. We can call that abundance, we can define that as prospering in health. And I'm talking about being able to live a very fulfilling life, a life that we can create whatever we desire, a thriving life, a purpose driven life, one that is not a struggling, financially free, strong, meaningful relationships. We can have the very best of life, whatsoever we desire and we can dream of, if we can live in right alignment. I'm not going to get too far on that. Here's where I want to go with this. Along the flow of life, as we navigate life, well, before I get to that, just understand that you and I, all of us, we have the potential and the capacity to reign in life. That's no question about that. If we want to define that capacity, that potential, the essence of who we are, it is that very compass that guides us is all based on the qualities you see there on the screen: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithful, and so on. As we go through life, as we go through the flow of life, choices become the critical key. It becomes the mechanism by which we will navigate this flow of life towards our best life. You see, by design, life unfolds in a continuous flow of contrasting opposites. Every day, every hour of every day, every minute of every day, we are having to make choices, and there's always that contrast, and that's a natural flow of life. Choice, what I call the sovereignty of choice, is the key, or it is the mechanism by which we navigate this flow of life. What happens to us is that from childhood, we learn to navigate this by making choices that work against ourselves. We lose sense of our true nature to ego-driven desires because of how we are conditioned or how we are acculturated by society and our environment and so. And we do that by making choices that contradict our core values of our inner being. And it's usually based on fear-based things, societal expectations, insecurities, and we learn this very young. And this is where we begin to live a fractured life. This is where the alignment of body, soul, and spirit, body, mind, and spirit goes out of balance. And just for clarity, when I say soul, soul is mind and heart, our thoughts and our emotions. So we begin to lose alignment right here where we start to navigate life by making choices that go against the values of our true inner nature. It creates mind-body dissonance as opposed to the harmony between mind and body. Mind and body never becomes disconnected because they can't be disconnected except if you were to be dead or completely brain dead. But mind and body is always connected, but it's either in harmony or it's in dissonance. This dissonance arises from us knowingly violating what we know to be true, what we know to be good or right, be it for ourselves or for others, and we choosing against it. We do this all the time because we've been conditioned to do this. It causes us to develop an unhealthy relationship with our bodies, whereby We know what we ought to do and ought not to do as it relates to how we treat our bodies, but we don't necessarily do it, even though we're fully aware. And I know everybody understands what I'm saying. We've been promising to change this and change that and do more of this and do less of that, to engage in our exercise and all the things, all the factors that relates to physical well-being. We have been making promises, we have had good intentions, we have tried and we find it difficult to maintain, etc. And we develop an unhealthier relationship with our physical body. When it relates to our minds, we also develop an unhealthy relationship with our minds because of this fracture. And when I say unhealthy relationships, we find it difficult to be disciplined, to be committed to different tasks, to live with consistency, to have perseverance in what we are driving for in life. We struggle with things like being complacent. We struggle with having that discipline, having the consistency. We engage in self-sabotaging behaviors, and we work against ourselves. Our mindsets work against ourselves because this is where our problem really begins. And rather than get into abundance, where we can live and create the life we desire, right here, we get held up. We get held up because of this mind-body dissonance. Physically, we pay for it, and mentally and emotionally, we pay for it. And the fracture that happens here, because of how we are taught to choose against ourselves, and it causes us to lose sense of our true essence of being, where our potential resides. This is where we cannot tap our potential. Our spiritual awareness becomes obscured. We're not even aware. We may acknowledge it, but we have no awareness in practically daily living that our true essence of being is actually spiritual. We lose that awareness, and that is where our potential lies. And this is where the unlocking has to be done. The unlocking has to be done right here so we can restore our mind-body balance. And once we do that, if we can bring mind and body back into its natural balance, the qualities of spirit naturally begin to emanate. We don't need to know how to live by love and with love, to live with joy, to know a peace that's unshakable. We don't need to know how to learn to do that. That's inherently who we are. If we can bring mind and body, how we engage with the external world and the internal world of our lives, if we will not let the outer world dictate our state of being and the quality of our life, I'm talking about taking charge of our lives, living creative, living inspired. This is where you and I and most people need to be motivated. We need to be motivated to try and make life work. We need to be motivated to go after goals because we don't have a clarity of mind to be able to hold the vision, to be able to pursue purpose, to even recognize what purpose is. This is where we have a lot of confusion in life. This is where you and I, we spend money engaging in courses and buying books and trying to get our mindsets right, so we would not engage in self-sabotaging behaviors, so we can be more inspired, we can be more creative, we can go after life with a fervor and a vibrancy, with a vision and with purpose. We can go after life with persistence and consistency and hold that, as opposed to needing to be pushed, because we are inspired. That's what happens when there's alignment. We don't need to be motivated, we are inspired. When we're out of alignment, we need to be motivated, we need to be pushed, we need to try to make life work, and we struggle to do it. The result of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that of a fractured life, because we're choosing external values over our internal values. And we identify with ego and not our true essence of being, and we lose being able to tap our potential. This is where it must be unlocked. The result of this is that there is a fracture in how we live. There's a reduced quality of life, and is a struggle standard of living. These are not two different things. Though they're independent, they're mutually supportive. They all, and we end up with a cycle of living where our body pays for it and our life pays for it. There is lifestyle disease, which is rampant across the globe today, and there's a lack of abundance. Most people live their lives struggling. We have an unhealthy relationship with our bodies. We have an unhealthy relationship when it comes to money and finances and resources and how to manage it. With this reduced quality of life, we rely on external circumstances to dictate how we feel, whether we enjoy life and whether we are happy. We have mindsets of separation and limitation. This is what happens when there's mind-body dissonance. It fractures into two sides of one coin. On one side, we develop sickness and disease. On the other side, we struggle with resources, with finances to have a good standard of living. Two sides of one coin, quality of life, standard of living. Every day we go about our lives trying to have a good standard of living. We want to have a good quality of life, and we go through our lives fighting to do it. And we get to the end, and most of us, statistically, we die from a sickness, from a lifestyle disease, and we often die in debt. Is that what life is about? No, I'm saying that we can feel better, we can think a lot better, and we can live a whole lot better. But the key is this mind-body dissonance that we must bring in to harmony. When we prioritize outer influences over the values of our inner well-being, we create a disharmony of life within, which manifests with what we call stress and negative emotions. Stress and negative emotions, which we all deal with. That is our gauge of whether we're in balance or not. We should be stress-free, and all our emotions should be positive. That's when we know that we're in balance. Is that possible? Absolutely. We just have to understand how it works. This is all going to be unfolded throughout in the workshops. But right now, I just want to give an overview. But by realigning our daily choices with the values of our inner divine nature, we will restore this balance. Realigning mind-body balance, living by the principles that is associated with our divine nature, we will get to that place of having a better quality of life and a better standard of living. Now, that's the simple equation. The thing is, it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy to do. But what I want us to take away from here also is that health is the harmony of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being when it's all in balance. And prosperity is the outward expression of that inner alignment of wholeness. Not to think of these as two different things. This is one thing that manifests health and prosperity when our life is in balance, because the principles and the rudiments that govern one governs both. This is how it plays out in the world. And this is the reflection of it. This is a reflection of mind-body dissonance, mind-body imbalance. The World Health Organization calls it the global burden of disease. You can name it whatever you want to name it, whether you call it diabetes, arthritis, cancer, high blood pressure, heart, what, doesn't matter the name. All lifestyle disease emanate from this dissonance, this mind-body imbalance. And this is just a reflection of it. This is a global pandemic, a pandemic that is far greater than the COVID pandemic that we had 5 years ago. That killed 20 million people in 2 years. This is killing millions of people every year. 74% of the global deaths on our planet happens because of this. 6 out of 10 adults live with this. It is the greatest financial burden of every government on the planet, and it has the greatest impact on our personal productivity, economic growth, and the quality of life. You see, because of this is not just a pandemic of illness, it also creates an economic pandemic. This is, and if there's a point I want to get across to you, is that don't think that our struggles to make life work financially and with resources to live a good quality, good standard of living, it is not separate from this. In fact, if you want to have a good standard of living, you want to be financially free, you want to be able to tap into your potential to do that, we need to live a healthy life. That's my message. If we keep focusing on lifestyle illnesses as a problem of humanity, which is how we are conditioned to think about it, we are conditioned to think about this as though we are just victims of disease. We are going about our lives happy, go lucky, and this thing just comes and it hits us. That's not so. We earn it. We work for it. We just don't see it in that light. But lifestyle illnesses are not a problem of humanity. They're just an outcome. It is just the outcome of unbalanced living. And if we don't get that equation right, we will keep going in the wrong direction. People say to me that as you get old, you must get sick. As you get old, you must develop a disease. You have to die from something. That is part of the very narrow conditioning and mindset that comes along with the mind-body dissonance. It is the narrow, constricted understanding of who we are and the potential we possess. Aging may be inevitable, disease is not. The body is the vessel through which life is experienced, but the mind is the gateway that shapes those experiences. And I say gateway because we experience life in this world through our five senses. All the experience comes through those gateways. But when they're in harmony, when mind and body is in harmony, they create the balance that is needed to unlock that inherent potential to live healthy and prosperous lives. Now, to help us to understand this greater, I'm going to just break it down where we can put it into a context of understanding. The brain and the nervous system provides the cue communication between mind and body. I just want to bring it down to a more relatable context that we can now walk into it. See, if we don't understand something and we don't understand how it works, we don't know how to truly apply it to make it a living reality. The mind, the brain, and the entire nervous system is called the central nervous system, both together. And this is the communication. This is how mind and body works together in harmony. Now, I'm not saying anything to you that you cannot go and validate through your own research. Mind and body converge in neurology. Neurology is the science of the brain and the central nervous system and how it communicates with everything in the body. Neurology is the control center that processes and transmits the information for all functions of our mind and our body. Thoughts, emotions, beliefs, etc. All the factors of mind, it's being processed by neurology. We call this the hardware. I'm going to use some computer language to help to bring it into context. Let's call this the hardware, the brain and the central nervous system. The body, right down to the cellular level, all functions throughout our body is governed by neurology. So neurology, the hardware, it governs the processing of all physiological function and psychological function because they both converge here. That's important for us to note as we learn how to engage the process of taking charge of our lives through mind-body imbalance so we can tap our potential. This is how it works. There is, encoded into the hardware is genetic programming. We're going to call that the operating system. It's the operating system because this is pre-installed program. This is pre-programmed into the hardware because this is what built and runs the body. It is pre-installed. But this is the program that runs all physiology, all biological and life-sustaining functions that's happening. Millions of things are happening in our body right now as we sit here, as you listen to me. There are millions of functions taking place, and we're not involved. 95% of physiological function happens automatically without our involvement. Only 5% of it is in our control, our conscious control. 95% is not because it's run by the programming. We can call it the autonomic nervous system. It is automatic. That is genetic programming. That's pre-installed. Then there is lifestyle programming, and this is the acquired patterns of thoughts, emotions, habits that create the experiences of life, and these can modify, enhance, or disrupt the genetic programming. This is also mostly out of our control because it's encoded into the hardware, just like genetic programming. Lifestyle programming, which comes through the experiences of life, they get encoded into the brain, and 95% of it is out of our control because it is subconscious, meaning that we're not consciously aware of it. Only 5% of our mental capacity are we consciously aware, consciously in control of. Rational thinking or decision making, but 95% of this programming is subconscious. We don't make a conscious decision to be fearful. We don't make a conscious decision to be upset. We don't make a conscious decision to be offended when someone, it's just reflexive. It just comes out of the program. But that is what we learn through the experiences, and they have become encoded into the hardware. Now the hardware is processing both. Now, what happens if the software is not compatible with the operating system? Just like with a computer, if the software is not compatible, it creates a conflict, and then it disrupts the proper functioning and operation. In essence, that is exactly what happens with our bodies when we start to develop these illnesses. And illnesses is the first reflection of this imbalance that then translates into more and more disruption in how we manage our minds. When our state of being, which is how we think and feel, is incompatible with the operating system, i.e., negative thinking patterns, suppressed emotions, traumas, chronic stress, etc., they disrupt the neural programs. When that happens, when neural programming becomes disrupted, it creates an imbalance between the mind and the body. This is the root of where all chronic lifestyle illnesses develop. Not some, all, not just lifestyle illnesses, all autoimmune conditions begin right here. This is validated by psychoneuroimmunology and the science of epigenetics. You can do the research. What disrupts physiology more than anything else, and far more than what we eat and drink, is our patterns of thinking and our emotional response to life. And when it's of the negative nature, which is what is the case for most people, it creates such a disruption throughout our bodies. In fact, our bodies is reflecting this imbalance that's perpetually happening all the time. Like I said in the beginning, it's the cycle that keeps perpetuating itself. Now, what would happen if we can bring mind and body back into harmony? The body's innate healing capacity becomes released. It never stops. It is always 24/7. The body never stops healing and repairing. In fact, our body is probably healing us of diseases every single day, and we don't even know it because it's always 24/7, never stops. But when these imbalances occur, it blocks the process. If we have a condition and it's not being healed, it's blocked, the process is being blocked. Where is it being blocked? It's being blocked right at the source, at the very programming that's running the whole system. That's where it happens. That's where, in science, neuroscience will tell us that before an organ or a system becomes dysfunctional, the programming that runs the system must first go out of balance. It's just that in the normal course of healthcare, nobody addresses this. This is not addressed because everything is done through biochemistry. You take stuff, it goes into your blood, it mixes with your chemistry, and we try to change the outcome through that way. The current model of healthcare, it does not address realignment. So we could have mind-body imbalances, poor sleep. These are not the diseases. This is what leads to what we call lifestyle illnesses, poor sleep, low energy, aches and pains, weak immunity. These are the things that people are going to doctors' offices for all the time. sleep issues, low energy. These are all these signs that there is an imbalance, and left unchecked and given sufficient time, they start to create enough disruption that becomes, and they tag a name to it and call it a dis-ease. Now that started not there, and that dis-ease is just an outcome. That's not the problem. It's an outcome. Then we take our current solutions is that we take medicines of various types to try to force that outcome to change. We want to change the outcome. We never really get to what's driving that, but we think the outcome is the problem. And so you take pharmaceutical drugs, over-the-counter medicines, different supplements, different natural remedies, etc., and we're trying to change the outcome without fixing what goes wrong with the very thing that causes the outcome to occur. So it's like a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's like you're sailing your boat through life, and because of lifestyle habits and etc., it gets a hole in the boat and it begins to leak. And you now start to bail your boat out. And you're trying to sail it through life, but you have to keep bailing because there's a hole. That hole is some type of physical ailment. And over time, the hole gets bigger. So a glass is not enough. Now you need a bucket. And it spirals down as time goes by. And one day we say, well, I guess I'm getting old. And now I'm dealing with 3 or 4 different holes in the boat. And we're taking all these things. And our mindset is that that's just life. I'm getting old. No, we have to change that level of thinking. If we are going to make a difference, not with illness, but with living a better quality of life, a higher standard of living, and a better quality of life, we have to now go deeper. So the current solutions, these could be good. They could save our life. We need them. They have their place. But they're not going to make us healthy. And they're not going to bring that balance back that helps us to be able to optimize and tap into our potential and live the life that we're supposed to live. Remember that these illnesses that we are using these drugs and these different things to try and affect and force a change, they create these side effects and these challenges only because it's going against the natural balance, trying to force a change, trying to force the outcome to suppress it, but it comes at the cost of toxicity and side effects. And there's a whole lot of issues, but even though this has served many well, this is all we have. But my issue with this, as a practitioner and working in the field over the last 3 decades, it comes to a point where you recognize that this does not, while it may have its place, please don't get me wrong, this will never solve our problem, because our problem is not a lack of these things, a deficiency of these things. Our problem is choosing against ourselves to begin with, that sets up a cascade of events that ends up reflecting as illnesses and struggles in life. And so we need to have a different way. The world needs a new approach, one that supports balanced living, one that helps us to get back in alignment. We cannot solve the problems with the same thinking that we used when we created them. That's what Albert Einstein said, and it makes a whole lot of sense. We need a completely different new approach. I was fortunate, like many others, to have met this gentleman, and I've come to know this gentleman, Jay Dhaliwal. He's the founder of a company called the Super Patch Company. When I heard about him and what he was doing, my first response was, I wonder if he really knows what he's talking about, because he is merging state-of-the-art science with a holistic approach to well-being, supporting the body's innate healing capacity by naturally restoring and optimizing mind-body balance. I've been dealing and studying and working with mind-body balance for years, many years. It is my first love when it comes to therapy, is mind-body balance. And my work has been with people in how to cultivate that. And then for me to hear that somebody is using science to do that. Well, I don't know if this gentleman knows what he's really talking about. Let me see what it's all about. And then when I found out that his journey, which started with his mother's neurodegenerative condition, multiple sclerosis, and years of trying to find a solution for her, took him down a pathway of making a discovery which led him to make this statement of passion that he's here to build something generation that will transform the world. Now that caught my attention because the world, when it comes to addressing illness, which to my understanding will not be done unless you restore mind-body balance, I paid attention because he was onto something that nobody else was saying. And so I stepped into this and I started to investigate it. Then I started to try what he was creating. And in my 30 years of being in the healthcare industry, I've not come across anything that has this impact. Why? Because I've not found anything that actually helps to restore the balance between the mind and the body. How does this work? How is this even possible that it could happen? And it happens very simply. For me to help you to understand that, how simple it is, because it's so simple, it could pass over our heads. It's like this. When the eye function becomes impaired and vision declines, by simply putting on a pair of spectacles, a non-invasive drug-free device to our face, vision instantly improves. If I take off my glasses, blurred. I just put them on, it's clear. Instantly improves. What if, in a very similar manner, when the brain's neural programs become disrupted, by simply applying a super patch, which is a 100% drug-free, non-invasive device to the skin, the brain's neural functions begin to instantly improve. What if that was possible? It's like this. It's like taking one of these. This is one of their patches. You just take off the back, just like a Band-Aid. Absolutely nothing in it, no ingredients, nothing on it. And you can see, you just stick it on. And instantly, immediately, it starts to regulate the waves and the neural functions of my brain. And what instantly starts to happen is that my physiology, two things begin to happen. My body begins coming into an alignment and working better, and my mind starts to become more orderly in its function. Well, that blew my mind. That blew my mind. Let me show you Mr. Dhaliwal doing an example or doing a test to show you how it actually works.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay Dhaliwal. I'm the CEO and founder of Vox Life and the creator of Vox Life HPT. Today, I want to talk to you about our Harmony Neuro Patch. And what this product does is actually stimulates receptors on our skin, sending a neurosignal to our brain to help it reach homeostasis. This is the only product in the world that relies on the neurohaptic system that every single one of us has to optimize our neurology and optimize our health. Today, with the help of Dr. Mark DeBrincat, our VP of Clinical Strategy, we're going to be using an FDA-cleared 19-channel EEG headset, as well as FDA-cleared software to visualize, record, and show the impact that our technology has on our neurology and our brains to help it reach optimal performance. What we want to show today is how the Harmony Neuro Patch helps that dysregulated yellow, blue, and red colors in the brain maps transform into that healthy green homeostasis neurology that is the foundation of health and wellness. So what we're looking at right now is a neurological QEEG output of Mike's limbic system. The 19 channels are reading over 60,000 brainwaves a second and generating an output of neurofunction and brainwaves. What we want to see now is where that suboptimal red and yellow colors are. We want to see them turning as much as possible to a healthy green with the application of our HPT patch. So we've applied the patch now to Mike's arm, and within 10 seconds, you're seeing that predominant yellow and red become predominantly green. Just for clarification, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing in the world that has this output at this rate of speed without drugs, without chemicals, without electricity. That's the power of Vox HPT. So when we see a healthy green neurology, what we're looking at is a brain and a mind in homeostasis. It is operating in its optimal function. And this is so important. And this is why it's so important. So VoxLife HPT, as we demonstrated with our NeuroPatch, helps the central nervous system reach homeostasis in our neurology. And the reason this is so important for overall wellness and health is that neurology is the top of the pyramid of our physiological health and wellness paradigm. First is neurology at the very top, then there's chemistry, then there's biology, then there's physics and mechanics. Neurology will have an impact all the way through our entire physiology. Healthy neurology, healthy body, better wellness.
Let me share with you a little bit on the science behind this, because when you understand that there's absolutely nothing in the patch in terms of medicines, ingredients, substances of any type, one has to wonder how they work. It's based on Nobel Prize research that goes back to 1939 when two, and I'm going to be very brief with this, when two scientists discovered that all atoms in the universe, including every atom of every cell in the human body, transmits and receives electromagnetic signals. Why is that important? That's important because that is the language of our central nervous system. The brain and the central nervous system communicates with every cell in the body, and all physiology is communicated through electromagnetic signals. That's also interesting because all lifestyle programming, all thoughts and emotions are also electromagnetic signals, and it's those signals that disrupt the programming. And so this is where the root of it is, the understanding that all cells of the body emit and receive electromagnetic signals. These are all vibrational signals. Then later on, two more Nobel Prize laureates, through the science called haptic perception. Haptic perception is the science of how humans are able to relate to the world around us through our skin. And this is something that most of us are not even familiar with. But through ion channels, the skin tissue detects vibration, texture, and pressure, transmitting those vibrations into electrical signals to the brain, where the information is processed and interpreted. This happens at all 5 of our sensory perceptions changes vibration into electrical signals, because that's the language of the central nervous system. We can tell these ion channels, which was later discovered. You see, they understood that the cells emit electromagnetic signals, and we understood that, which helped us to develop technologies like EEGs and ultrasounds and MRIs and MRAs, because those electrical, we can now map things inside the body. We knew things like, my daughter, who's an acupuncturist, that you put a needle into a particular area of your body, into a meridian, and it creates a physiological response. Medicine knows that, but they couldn't understand what's the mechanism that makes it happen. Now they know it's these piezo ion channels that detect a vibration. And the easy way to understand how the patches work is to think about Braille. Braille are these raised dots that you'll find on a surface which blind persons use to read. If you've ever seen Braille, or if you ever do see it, rest your fingers on the dots, and you will wonder, how is it even possible that they can tell anything from just resting their fingers on it? But what we don't understand, what we may not understand unless we do the research, and it's an interesting thing to do, is that the dots are arranged in what they call tactile patterns. So that when we put our fingers on it, these ion channels detect the vibration of the patterns. And whether it is a number, a symbol, a word, because of their learning, when they run their fingers across the Braille, that's how they're able to read, because the ion channels in their fingers are detecting the vibrations of the patterns and sending the signal to the brain that then translates the information. We also, let me tell you how this is something that we can sense every day, just normally. Have you ever been inside of a room or met somebody, or you came into close proximity with someone who had a very strong vibe, be it good or bad, and you felt the discomfort or you felt the draw into them, and you said they have a good vibe? That's piezo channels at work. That's you feeling vibration. So when we say I don't like their vibe, it's exactly true. It is vibrations that the skin senses, goes to the brain, and you say I don't feel this. That's the piezo channels in our skin also detecting vibration. So over 15 years of research and development based on this Nobel Prize research, Superpatch Company developed what they call vibrotactile trigger technology. And it has become peer-reviewed, published research today, where it is now accepted and it's now being recognized across the globe, and it's now being published in peer-reviewed journals. So this is not novel or anything that's new science. This is 15 years of research and development and now published and established science. And so, like Braille, the tactile patterns on each super patch, it sends sensory vibrations as electrical signals to the brain, targeting the repair or the rebalances of the neural pathways that are linked to specific physical and emotional functions. And it restores mind-body alignment for optimal performance. This is, now we are coming to a point, this can actually bridge. It creates a bridge to how we can begin to unlock our potential by restoring harmony of mind and body through the vibration of touch. This is so remarkable. This is not altering your brain. This is simply an external device that sends a vibration as an electrical signal to your brain, and the neural pathways, which are all waves. And to think of it this way, here's an easy way you can probably capture it: is brain waves and the programming which are released as waves of motion. When we have mind-body dissonance, our brain functions in a disorderly manner. It is like tuning a radio to a station, choosing the dial to a radio station, and it's a little bit off, and you're getting a little bit of garble, and it's a little bit of static, and it's not quite clear. That is when we have mind-body imbalance. That's how the neural programs work. They're not all together right, and some of them can go completely out of balance, where it leads to bigger and bigger problems in our bodies. When you apply the patch now is like turning the dial right, and it now becomes tuned. And now the signal is clear, and two things happen. You start to get more orderly functioning of the brain, which brings more orderly thinking, more orderly function of the body. That is absolutely remarkable, and you couldn't get more natural than a patch emphasizing what naturally resides with the body. It's like bridging the natural balance between mind and body just through a simple piece of plastic. Absolutely mind-blowing technology, but to me, it just validates the miraculous nature of our divine design. Recently, last year, the technology was globally recognized across the world. The European Congress, the European Sleep Research Society, and more recently, the World Congress of Psychiatry. These are where the greatest minds in these areas come together from all over the world to deal with the progress of these various fields. And Superpatch was able to present their revolutionary innovation and the technology. Why? Because no one has yet seen something that is so simple, completely drug-free, completely ingredient-free, that helps the body to bridge mind-body communication, restore that balance, with the result of two things happening. Because neurology processes both mind and body, when you bring it into balance, you get a better orderly functioning brain, better thinking, and you get better physiological function, better biology. And that is absolutely amazing. And that has far-reaching implications. So these are the 12 patches that Super Patch offers. There are actually 13, but this is the original 12. It's a suite of all natural, non-invasive, 100% drug-free performance and wellness solutions we all need. When our skin contacts the imprinted pattern on the patch, it triggers a neural response from our brain to our body, restoring that mind-body balance and achieving greater levels of physical wellness and performance and enhancing our mental and emotional resilience. This is a bridge to be able to walk in to the life that we all want to have. So we don't have to, we can recognize that our struggle, it becomes it's a whole lot easier process to manage life with this, starting with our physical well-being. So it enhances physical and mental well-being. It's backed by research, it's proven by science, very effective. They work almost immediately. And it addresses the biggest needs that we have in health and wellness, which I like to keep saying is just a reflection. Illness is just a reflection of the imbalance. Our goal is to get that balance back right so we can harness our potential. It's FDA registered, not FDA approved, because it's no ingesting of any substances, and you only need FDA approval for substances that are ingested into the body. With them, you can be sure that you don't have to worry about contraindications because there are no ingredients in it. If you're taking medication, it's safe to take with that. There's no allergic reactions, completely safe, just patch and live. It's very easy to use, safe for children, safe for the elderly, and you won't find, I can't think of anything that I've ever used in clinical application that is as safe and as effective as this. I don't know if you can get more effective than bringing mind and body into balance with the obvious response of enhancing physiology and enhancing your psychology. A healthy neurology is also the key to disease prevention. If you're talking about longevity, we're talking about maintaining a health span. We want to maintain living our best and living long and living free of disease. You want to maintain a healthy neurology. The thing is with super patches, this is the magic of it. The magic of it is not, I put on a patch and my body starts to feel better. That's the beginning, because that's where it all starts. But when the body starts to feel better, the mind starts to feel better. The mind begins to work better. And the mind works better, and it becomes a feedback loop. But the real magic of it is which is different to glasses. I put on these spectacles, it improves my eyesight, but it doesn't correct the problem. When we wear the patches consistently over time, when it brings the unbalanced programs back into their original balance, and that is being maintained, here's the magic, what is called neuroplasticity, where the brain begins to reorganize and rewire itself back to the new balance. When that happens over time, but as you maintain the balance, and the more that happens, not only are you going to be seeing increasing improvements in physiology, but you're also seeing increasing improvements in psychology, but it now becomes sustainable because the brain has now reorganized itself to this new balance. That is the magic. This is absolutely life-changing. There is no medicine, there is no herb, there is no supplement, there's nothing on the planet right now that does this. Nothing in the healthcare arena that does that. And believe me, I have been looking. I'm always on the look for what will help us to enhance our lives in the most natural way. And I've not found anything like this. And so I'm just going to run through very quickly some of the patches with you. This is the one that was done that Jay did the demonstration with. It's called Liberty. And when he did the demonstration, he said it brings the brain into homeostasis. What that's really saying is that it's bringing the brain into more orderly function. And when he talked about is balancing the limbic system is part of the brain that helps to deal with emotional regulation. So when people start using this sufficiently long enough, they start to say things like, I don't find that I'm as easily triggered by when so-and-so does this or say that, or I'm not as easily put off by the traffic being so tight, or I find that I'm just, I'm more tolerant about things. And they don't understand it. but that's because the brain is now becoming more orderly functioning. People will find that when your brain starts to become more orderly and coherent in its function from that balance, you'll find that when you spend time in prayer or meditation, there's less noise, less mental chatter and clutter. It's more of an ease because there's more balance. But what does that mean if we begin to nurture that? All the struggles that we've been having with mindsets that has been holding us back in life, we can now tap that in ways that was not as easy to do as before. But you can, my dad, who used a walker to walk, if he has to walk a fairly distance, he will use a walker or a stick. After I gave him this, 2 days, exactly 2 or 3 days of using it, he no longer uses a walker because the strength, the balance, and stability it gives you, and it happens almost instantly. You put it on now, in a matter of seconds or minutes, you'll feel the change. In fact, there's a test that we do, a demonstration that we do with this particular patch to test your balance and your stability as well as your grip strength. And you'll see how in a matter of seconds, it always freaks people out how they can work that quickly. But that's how the nervous system works. It works almost at the speed of light. That's the Liberty patch. When the majority of people on this planet don't get restorative sleep, even though we may sleep throughout the night. It's probably one of the biggest issues that is contributing to the mental disorders that we are seeing today. They're all kind of cognitive decline conditions that we are seeing, and this thing called sleep is a big, big part of it. But you use the REM patch, this gives you such wonderful sleep. You wake up, you feel refreshed. For those who may have issues with that. The patch that I just stuck on was this patch. It's called Peace. This balances the autonomic nervous system. It brings you, if you're feeling stressed out and you're, all wound up and you're not able to cope, and you put this patch on, it takes the sympathetic nervous system, that fight flight that's all revved up, and it balances and brings it into being, into more parasympathetic function, more calm and more resilience. You feel almost immediate calmness when you do that. So, and it's just bringing the function of the brain, the waves, back into its normal, natural balance. Absolutely wonderful. The Defend, I wear this every day of life. I recommend to people, let me tell you, you cannot do better. You always want your immune system to be at its peak. And this keeps your immune system functioning, keeps its surveillance and its protection mechanism always high, always at its highest alert, always in its highest natural balance. I've seen people use the, what I'm going to say doesn't happen this way for everybody, but I've had people put on the Defend patch who was fighting the flu, and in a matter of minutes, his symptoms just go away. My brother was one of them. But you don't find anything that work like this. I've never found anything that worked like this. But I want to keep emphasizing, while it starts to help your body to function better and the systems to become more regulated and in balance, remember, the patches are not doing anything to your body. The patches are bringing your brain and the functions, the brain waves, the programming richer waves into its natural balance. The body's intelligence that runs everything, the body's innate intelligence that built and runs the body, that is what goes into play. That is what begins to do the work. Restore the balance, and the body just naturally does what it's designed to do. When we start to get rid of pain, that's the beginning of recovery. The Freedom patch is used for pains, stiffness, and it works where it works. People put it on in seconds to minutes to hours to days. Everybody's different because everybody's pre-existing imbalances are different because our neurology is as unique as our fingerprint and DNA is unique. I particularly love this patch. This is really serving me really well when the workout that I've started to upregulate. If you're into sports, if you're into athletic performance, you put this on, you clearly see the difference in your strength, in your power, in your stamina. It also has many overlapping effects in how it improves your health in various ways. I also love the Focus patch. concentration, memory, attention, enhanced focus. This is something that I suggest to people that if you have a concern about things like cognitive decline and brain fog and developing Alzheimer's, and you find this is something you want to use this consistently enough until your brain starts regulating and your brain starts to repair and reorganize its neural pathways that deals with memory and enhanced attention. Don't just take it when you need to study. Or, I mean, you can give it to your children for studying as well, but as an adult, don't just take it because you need to enhance. But if you use it over time, you're helping to repair the neural pathways that will help to prevent things like the cognitive decline from happening. For those who want to maintain a more healthy weight, you find that you can't get enough activity in, the Ignite patch will help to burn 25% more calories at rest. It helps your body to become more efficient at energy consumption. And so it helps you in terms of not just your energy, but it helps you to burn off those extra calories when you can't get as much activity as you're in, maybe because of your schedule. For us men, as we get older, we tend to get deficient in that masculine function department. This will help to bring that back up and help you very, very well in that department. I recently started using this about a month ago. I'm beginning to see the changes in my skin. I've had people who've used this and for aesthetic reasons, but I've seen it do other things in terms of helping your skin and various conditions. But it's just to help your skin be healthier, and your body determines what that may mean for you. The Kick It for people who are trying to deal with hard to break habits, addictions, and so on. This is one that helps to balance the neural centers in the brain. All addictions are emotionally encoded in the brain. So when you start to balance all those emotional centers, you find that the addiction, the compulsion for the addiction, that goes. But what you have to be aware of is that you now have to engage the change. So for example, we may be struggling with addiction with a particular substance or maybe addiction with a particular food. And we find that when using the Kick It patch, we now find that we could be faced with it, but we don't have that emotional compulsion to where I feel like I need to have it, that subsides. But the choice to not engage is yours, because what will not go away is the memory of how I used to enjoy it. But the compulsion as to I feel I need it, that goes. Now you can just choose and go. So you can make the choice without the struggle. But you have to be careful not to give in to the memory of what you used to enjoy. Therefore, you need to have something that you're moving towards and not go back to things like that. This is a wonderful patch. It's called Joy. When you're down, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling depressed, this is going to help to lift you up and bring you into a more positive, optimistic mood. You don't need to be in any of these kind of low moods to use this, but by using this continually, along with a couple of the other patches, because they're a combination of patches you can use and have them on. Right now I have on 5 different patches. You can use them, but what you're doing consistently is not just enhancing your whole physiology, protecting your body, but what you're doing is also rewiring and retraining your brain to be more optimal, and it has real impact on how you manage and adjust and cultivate more healthy mindsets. This is the new one that recently came out in November last year. It's called Boost. You don't need these toxic, harmful energy drinks that put holes in your brain, that taxes your liver and your kidneys. This is clean energy on demand. This does not give you a stimulating energy like if you drink an energy drink. This is clean. I call it energy on demand. When you need it, boom, it's there, and you can run throughout the day with this. All the patches are used for 24 hours. They're good for 24 hours. After 24 hours, the patterns, because of oils in the skin, body temperature, sweat, and so on, the patterns begin to erode and break down. So you change the patches every 24 hours. Very simple, just like a Band-Aid. Peel it, stick it. You can stick it pretty much anywhere on your body, from under your feet all the way up. You just don't want to put it where there's a lot of hair that will prevent the sticking or will help that it will alter the pattern like that, but it pretty much can go anywhere. Very safe, and they're all clinically tested for safety and for allergens and toxins and that type of thing. Super Patch has an advisory board that maintains, helps to work to maintain the integrity, the development of the patches. They're all, each of them are currently involved with the research and development team in clinical trials, new things that the company is doing. The company is working on some new patches that will be coming out in the near future that are going to be absolutely astounding. We'll hear about that as time go by, but it's going to make a huge impact into the world of wellness beyond what it seems almost impossible what they're doing. But haptic perception, the science of that, this is a new era of wellness. This is a brand new frontier that is being led by the Super Patch company, and it is absolutely amazing. Not just wellness in terms of how it improves our physical health, but what it means for us to being able to bridge the gap to take charge of our lives and live a better quality of life on every level. This is being able to tap back into our potential. So I certainly believe we have the world's best product for enhancing our well-being. And I, as well as with many others, we have joined a movement to be able to share this with the world. Because let me tell you, I work with a lot of people and I see how people are struggling, how people's health are going down the drain with the approaches that we have today. Like I said, it may save our lives, but it's not helping us to get any better, and we could do a lot better than that. So I want to invite you, if you have never tried any of these super patches, you need to try it. You need to get patch, you need to feel the difference. This is advanced wellness solutions that are tailored to our unique needs. And I say tailored because our neurology is all individually unique to us. So when we put on super patches and they start rebalancing and start enhancing our well-being, it is doing it uniquely designed for you based on your own imbalances, which is different to everybody else's. You can't get more unique and more targeted than that. We have a Facebook Patch and Grow group. It has thousands of testimonies on it. You can go, people all over the world that are posting what these patches are doing and making a difference in their lives. So much of the world is living with these signs of mind-body imbalances. And together we can make a difference. We can make an influence. So, but it starts with us. It starts with me and it starts with you. It starts with us using it. It starts with us feeling and seeing the difference. It starts with us being able to say, you know what, I can now begin to cultivate the life that I have. I can know when you start, because when mind-body balance starts to come back in play, our true essence starts emerging. There's a gentleman that might be on the call now because he said he was going to come on tonight. He started using the Liberty Patch. This is probably 3 or 4 days now. He had a host of symptoms that was going on. There are a number of patches that I recommended for him to use. He was only able to get the Liberty at this point, and he used it for 3 or 4 days. And this morning, having called me the last couple of days to see how he was feeling, he called me this morning and he said, I am feeling better. And I said, that's great. What does better mean? And he said, well, and he kind of struggled to articulate it. He said, I just feel refreshed. And the one patch that he was desperately trying to get, waiting on, was the REM because of how he sleeps or not being able to sleep well. He said, I felt refreshed. I feel so much better in my body. Now, that's only just a couple of days. What he's beginning to experience, and what I said to him is, what is emerging naturally is that sense of well-being from a brain that's starting to function more orderly. You cannot bring our brains into an orderly function without bringing our bodies into a more orderly function. That is the simplicity, but it's also the power of how it works. There are a couple of ways that you can get this. Whoever might have invited you onto the call, you can, through their website, because this is not available on retail platforms, through any Super Patch Associates website, you can get it. It's so reasonably priced for what this technology does for us. Your host can tell you about that, more about that. And the other way that you can get it, which is what I recommend for everybody, is to join this movement, starting with yourself, help your family, help your friends, help the world. With social media today, you can scale this. You can have a business of your own, because when people start to take charge of their lives, people say to me as I work with them, I'm working on my mindsets, I'm working on getting my life. But you know what, Smith? I can't do more than my job can give me in terms of financial potential. And I say to people, the best financial decision anybody can make is to own a business, not just be a consumer of, but be an owner of. And Superpatch gives us an opportunity to own a globally scalable business with tools and the wherewithal that is unlike any business that I've seen before. This may not be for everybody, but this will allow you to work at your own pace, to be able to access the technology at wholesale value, and to be able to help through your own, maybe through your own social media event, because you get a fully functional affiliate marketing platform that you could impact the world with. And on Monday, we go through the value of this. We look at the options. We look at the difference that this is bringing to the market in terms of a business, and how you can, the options that you may have to start or launch your own Superpatch business that becomes globally scalable. For those who are interested in that, on Monday evening, 7:30 to 8:30, we do that. It takes about 20 minutes just to go through that, but the rest of the hour we spend just answering questions regarding the commerce of it or regarding the technology. And that's what we do on Monday. So for those who may have that interest, speak to your host. You have to get, and we'll get you the link to that session as well. So I want to thank everyone. It really was my pleasure to share the information with you. And it's so easy for us to focus in and say, because we think that health is about our body, and we just think that health is the body, but health is not about the body. Health is about you, all of you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That health is the whole in harmony. But it's because we think of health as body, we just see the patch as, oh, here's something I can do and I'll feel better. Yes. But think of it as more than that. This is a bridge that's going to help us to bring that mind-body dissonance that the entire world, more or less, is struggling with, which translates into struggles in life and struggles with our health. If we can capture that, if we can harness that, if we can work with that on a long-term level, we're going to see tremendous change. This is far greater than we may even capture at this point in time. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time, for me having the opportunity to share this with you. And hopefully we'll see you on Monday, where we can answer a whole lot of your questions. And for those who are interested in the business part of it, you also have that opportunity there as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I am going to